Should we care that the Cowboys are considering to re-sign Dez?
No. I mean, like, this is what happens in the NFL. And I know this is not a popular stance, so be it. I try to tell people, Stephen A., you almost had a conniption. The day on the air, I said that maybe Adrian Peterson could be a souped-up Frank Gore. He did not play up to that. He didn't even play up to Frank Gore. But Adrian Peterson was a brand name because he was, at one point, one of the greatest who ever did it. Dez Bryant wasn't quite Adrian Peterson as a receiver, but he was certainly a top 5 receiver, maybe a top 3 receiver. I thought maybe a tad overrated. Like, I never thought he was #1 in the league, but he was up there. He was great. Dez in his prime was great. But then he stopped being great. He started declining. He's an NFL receiver when last seen, for sure. He can make a lot of rosters. But it's not like, oh, we got Dez Bryant. Now we have a #1 wideout. When was the last time Dez was really a #1 wideout, let alone an upper echelon #1 wideout? So is it a big deal for sentimental reasons? You know, if you have an emotional connection to him as a Cowboys fan, I know there are a lot of Cowboys fans, good for you. But is it going to make a difference in terms of wins and losses on the field? He, at this point in his career, is a jag, just a guy.
I think it's all about how you utilize him, Max. I don't blame you for feeling that way. The last 3 years in the National Football League, he didn't even have a 1,000-yard season. He had like 838 yards. I think it was like on 69 receptions in 2017. Hasn't played since then. We haven't seen him in 2 years on the football field for a team. We get all of that. But I think when you take into account the Dallas Cowboys situation, let's understand what's going on here. You've got your 2 wideouts in Amari Cooper and Michael Gallup. Obviously, in Amari Cooper, you got to re-sign him. Who's your third receiver? That could still be a question mark, even though Randall Cobb is still there. Dez can't give you what Randall Cobb, who's 2 years younger at age 29, Dez being 31, can't give you. I'm not so sure about that. Then we think about Jason Witten, who wants to stay. But we think about how, if you look at how Dez plays, Dez has always been a guy who was a bigger receiver. He was somebody that's open, even though he wasn't, because he was athletic. He can sit up there and deal with the physicality. That might not be the case anymore. But what about entertaining the notion of Dez Bryant being your slot receiver? What about entertaining the notion that Dez is a version of your tight end spot, that he could do some stuff from that position? I think that's stuff that's worthy of considering, particularly when your options are Blake Jarwin and Jason Witten. Now we get into the sentimental portion of this. Well, Jerry Jones, right now, with what's going on with Dak Prescott, maybe you need to have some sentimental stuff in your favor. Maybe you need to think about why you let go of Dez Bryant. Remember, when T.O. was there, Jason Garrett and Witten wanted him gone, and Tony Romo ultimately acquiesced. If you listen to the reports out there, there was nothing in T.O.'s game that justified the Dallas Cowboys letting him go. But you had people who did not want him inside that locker room, and a lot of us lamented the fact that we didn't think that was necessarily fair. You could say the same thing about a Dez Bryant. Sure, they've got issues. Sure, they could be headaches sometimes. But if you love being a Dallas Cowboy and you go all out and you can be utilized in a fashion that's productive and beneficial to the franchise while also adding the element of sentimentality to the mix to throw inside that locker room to galvanize dudes, hold them accountable, and go all out instead of folding like cheap tents like they've tended to do on too many occasions, why not entertain it? Especially since he'd probably come on a cheat, because Dez Bryant is in no position to exercise any kind of leverage over Jerry Jones. If he was there, the sentimental element of it is what makes it appealing.
Yeah, Tony Dorsett's next. They're going to bring him back, too.
All right.
Well, that's not fair. That's not fair. He's 31 years. He's 31 years of age. And by the way, the Saints brought him in for a tryout last year before he tore his ACL. It's not like the brother couldn't play. We saw him running routes. We saw Patrick Mahomes throwing him the football. All joking aside, we don't know if he's finished. He's 31. Yeah. Give him a chance. Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For more sports highlights and analysis, be sure to download the ESPN app. And for live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.